Hi, my name is Danielle Putnam, and in this episode, I'm visiting with John Ellis and Rodney Cope about specifically indoor air quality. In particular, the discovery phase during your investigation of indoor air quality in the home and how to get paid what you're worth. Join the conversation.
An anthropologist started a game with some children in an African tribe. He placed a basket of delicious fruit near a tree trunk and told them, the first child to reach the tree will get the basket. When he gave them the start signal, he was surprised that they were walking together, holding hands, until they reached the tree and shared the fruit. When he asked them why they did that, why didn't one of them just run after the basket? The answer actually surprised him. They said, Ubuntu. That is, how can one of us be happy while the rest are miserable? Ubuntu, in their civilization, means I am because we are. That tribe knows the secret of happiness that has been lost in so many societies today. Wow, that story is beautiful. If you like stories like that, you'll enjoy story time with the new flat rate. Stay tuned to the end of the episode, and that's where I share the segment called Story Time with TNFR. In this week's segment, it is quite funny and entertaining, so enjoy it.
Hi, welcome back. Today we're talking about indoor air quality with Rodney Cope and John Ellis.
Glad to be here.
And I'm Danielle Putnam. In particular, with indoor air quality, we're going to be talking about the discovery phase. But before we dive into that, I'd like to back it up just a little bit and a little bit of the overarching how and why and what of indoor air quality. What is indoor air quality? I know we want clean air in our home, in our buildings, in our environment, and we want people to be safe. But what is indoor air quality?
Well, the simple definition is the purity of the air in a space as it pertains to the occupant's comfort. And that's the simple definition. What do you think?
Well, I would add to that and say that indoor air quality has to do with protecting the health of the building and the occupants. For example, if the humidity is too high, the building can rot, and it can also cause health issues. So you're really looking at two different things. Mm-hmm. When you solve one problem, you pretty much solve the other, don't you?
Or find another.
Or find another, right.
Yeah.
Who helps with indoor air quality?
I think that as HVAC professionals, we have the biggest opportunity to make the biggest impact on our clients' health and well-being and overall comfort and structure durability with our skill set than anybody else in the trade. Now, don't get me wrong, there are other aspects to indoor air quality and the likes when we talk about our industry, but I really think we're in the best position to really make a difference on a solution-based opportunities with our clients.
You know, people forget that HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Mm-hmm. And they really forget that they're supposed to control the air in and out of the home, control the whole space. Mm-hmm. And if you do that and pay attention to the quality of that air, you can have a huge effect. And as John said, the heating and air contracting industry, HVAC, is certainly in the catbird seat to do that and to understand that. So yeah, we really speak to HVAC contractors about this a lot. Mm-hmm.
Here at the New Flat Rate, we just wrote, and it was actually Rodney Cope and John Ellis together who wrote an indoor air quality pricing system, a menu pricing system for indoor air quality. And we're rolling out with a bunch of training and in a controlled beta right now as we speak. We're working on this beta. We have 20 contractors doing the beta all over the United States, big towns, small towns.
North, south, east, and west.
North, south, east, and west, big companies, small companies. But I'd like to talk, this podcast isn't about the product, but I'd like to talk about why it's going to be so imperative to be able to offer this menu pricing system to the, let's scratch that. I need to rephrase that. Edit, cut.
Well, I think you're okay there. You're going
in the right direction.
Just simply, why is pricing important?
Okay, hold on.
in this subject, in this venue, in this space.
When it comes to indoor air quality, why is pricing important?
It's important because nobody knows how to price it. We know how to price air conditioning. We know how to price service and repair and things like that. But how do we price fixing the building so that people will be healthy? And especially if we're not product based. In other words, we're not just going to sell a product, a thing, like an air purifier that's going to make the air cleaner. I don't know how many times I've went into homes, and I know you have as well, when they've had every kind of air purifier that's available online or in the big box stores, and yet they're still calling us. What does that mean? It means it's not making them better. It's not making them healthier. They still aren't comfortable. Their environment is still not controlled. So when we come in there, we have to sell expertise, knowledge, wisdom. Matter of fact, meditation, we have to think about it. We have to find out what's going on in the home, how is it affecting them and their health, the health of their families, and then what can be done about it. So how do you price that? So that's what we've done with this new pricing module, is we've said there's a way to look at the health of the building and the occupants, and there's a way to put a price on it so that the consumer can actually buy those solutions. So that's a reason that's very, very important.
Am I hearing right? Are you saying that there's a way to price the meditation and pre-work before you're even showing prices to fix and provide the solution?
Well, see, now that's very interesting. Both John and myself have done an awful lot of what we would call free.
Oh, yes.
Free consulting, because that's all we knew. We would go into a home or a business, and then we would talk to that person. We would do an awful lot of discovery and diagnosis, and then come up with a plan and hope that a good percentage of our prospects would buy the solution, because we were having to eat the discovery process, or at least try to build it back in. So now, yes, we've got a way now to get paid for your expertise. Basically, from the moment that you walk in, we created a way to where not only will they pay you on a tiered basis, but they will actually be happy to pay you for your knowledge, wisdom, and expertise. Would you agree that that's kind of how it went together, John?
Yeah, I can speak into that a little bit. So Rodney and I have both been doing indoor air quality at a very high level for a long time. And through a series of trial and errors, you might say, oftentimes we would go in and literally give away the discovery stage, and we'd look at it as a loss leader or just part of doing business. But the time that it's involved is really extensive, and just to give that time away and not being paid for it. So, and then like Rodney said, we'd hope to make up for it later in selling products or whatever, or change, actually sell the scope of work, and we'd make it up later, but you never really do. I think indoor air quality is one of the most misunderstood aspects of our industry in the HVAC realm of things, but also the biggest missed opportunity. There's so much out there, and people are looking for answers. And we've taken our knowledge and expertise from the field and brought it in and put it into a process that everybody can follow. And it's not just selling something to a customer, it's involving them in the process so they can see and understand and connect what they're feeling and what they're living, especially when children are involved, and they can see it, and it's a process, and they say, that's what's going on with our house and with our family. And you've hit the nail on the head, and we want to see where this is going to go. So it's a process, and it's wonderful if we do say so ourselves.
Well, not only that, most HVAC contractors, as well as other home service contractors, probably don't know how to go into a home and find solutions when a customer says, something about this house is making me sick, or the doctor just said that my child has asthma, and now he wants to put him on a ventilator or whatever you call those things.
Nebulizer,
Yeah,
different things.
and so people are concerned. And while you were talking, I just realized what we actually sell is a change in the environment. We're making it different. The first job like this I ever had was in the late 90s, 1998, I believe. And the point is, we did a $10,000 fix to this customer's house. And 3 weeks later, I was so on edge as to what their response would be. I finally called the lady of the house and I said, I just have to know, is it better? And she says, oh, we love our house. Every time we come in, and she goes, springtime fresh. And you see, so it's a change in an environment. So how do you know what the home needs? And then how do you know how to price that? And then how do you present that in such a way that the home or building owner will be able to say, let's go ahead and do that. So wouldn't you agree, John, that
Yeah, and you,
how do you learn that? How do you
bring up a great point. We can take an educated approach and come up with these solutions, but we've both got so many success stories of our clients actually having improved health, better quality of life, actually enjoying being home. Many stories, and that's what we based a lot of our decision on creating this module, if you will, on those success stories and what it took to get from point A to point B. So we've got this philosophy that's involved, and it has to be in the process. And it's three-tiered. It would be investigate, analyze, and quote. So the investigation process is the discovery. And then after you gather data during your discovery, you meditate on it and you analyze the data. And then and only then are you prepared to quote and present pages. And they can't be out of order, and you can't eliminate one of the steps. It has to be that approach, because you want to offer a solution to the client's problems. And just shut up and listen, they'll tell you. And it's an amazing journey once you get involved with it. Yeah.
And as you said earlier, heating and air contractors are really poised to bring these solutions. So what John just said is, you're listening to the homeowner because they're saying something about this house isn't right, or my kids are sick when they're at home, but when they're at grandma's house they're fine. So as John says, it's an awful lot of listening, taking notes. I would usually spend about an hour and a half with a client, just asking questions, health questions. How do you feel here? How do you feel when you're someplace else? Are there any rooms where you feel more susceptible than other rooms? So there's a lot listening process. And I think a lot of people that are watching this now will say, well, I wouldn't even know what to talk about. Well, that's what's so great about the discovery process. What we've done is we've put together a menu, really, to where you can have the discussion with the homeowner, and then say to the homeowner, how far do you want me to go with this? How far in testing, in analyzing, in looking for problems? I had a customer one time says, I don't care whatever it costs, just go ahead and do it. Well, we all know that you can't do that. So I went, I interviewed his wife, I found out what the problem was with their 2-year-old son, and then I called him on the phone and I said, would you like me to stop at 10,000, 20,000, 30,000? He says, I'll be right home. So what we've created in our discovery process is a way to say to the homeowner, kind of like, how much do you want to spend to find the solution? And they will actually choose a number, and then that's the number that's how far you're going to go. That's what you're going to get paid simply to find the solution and write it up. But when I say the HVAC contractor is poised, these solutions are typically going to be somehow in the environment. What's happening to the environment? Is there air coming into the home that's bringing with it pollutions, irritants, contaminants, herbicides, pesticides, smog? What's coming into the home? What's already in the home? what's coming up from below, mold, spores, bacteria, virus, whatever, something in the home. Once you start to believe your customer, believe when they say, this house is making me sick, because a lot of people don't believe them. A lot of times their family thinks they're a hypochondriac. When you just start to believe them and listen, pretty soon you start looking for the smoking gun. What's coming into this house, or what's in the house that is causing this problem? And then, being a contractor, the solution is usually not that hard once you find it. You're either going to seal up, contain the environment, fix leaks, fix something. You're going to find problems, and you're going to solve the problem, seal up the area, and as John says, IAQ. You're going to investigate, analyze, and then you're going to quote. And when you get to that point of giving them a quote, which we provide a way to do that, you're going to know, you're going to have a really good, or be real confident that if we do this, it'll solve the problem. I think it's wonderful. Did you know, and I know you know, John, but in Finland, if your child is diagnosed with asthma, the doctor goes to the house to find out why. In America and a lot of the world, they just
Throw prescriptions at you.
They just throw a prescription and give them one of those little puffer things. And 1 out of 4 children are being diagnosed with asthma in this country. And you, the heating and air professional, you can stop an awful lot of it.
Absolutely.
It's a wonderful thing.
Boy, I love everything that you said. So exciting that the new flat rate now has this new pricing system for indoor air quality to help during that investigate, analyze, and quoting process. A question I have for both of you is let's say we have some contractor friends who would like to dabble a little bit more into indoor air quality. What can they do now versus subbing out? What should they do within their company? What should they sub out?
Well, step 1 is to learn, and that's what John does. John teaches a 2-day class, and he can even go into more extensive to give you a basic foundation of understanding indoor air quality. It's an amazing class that's put together for the contractor to understand, and John can talk even more about that. But as far as what you can do, there's some things that you can sub out and some things that you can do. Just a quick rundown of the things that we did in my company from the top of the house down. Everything that we've done that we didn't sub out simply because it was so profitable to do it ourselves. From the roof down, we have patched and re-shingled a section of the roof. Even when we told the homeowner they could get it done for 1/3 the cost by a roofing company. Homeowner says, no, I want you to do it. So we fixed the roof. How hard could it be? In the attic, we've sucked out insulation in the attics. We've actually HEPA-vacked attics, and then we've sealed them with spray foam. Sometimes we insulate with different types of insulation, or we go back with spray foam. Why? Seal it airtight. We've spray foamed the roof, the rooftop of attics, from the inside of the attic. We've done radiant paint. We've painted the inside. We've put foil, aluminum foil, radiant barrier on the inside. We've sealed up electrical and plumbing penetrations, wall cavities. Amazing. Yeah, you're walking through an attic and you look down, what's that? That's the top of the shower in the bathroom. You can see right down around it. So we close those, we seal them. Sometimes the living room walls will come up into an attic, and so we will seal those, close those, sheetrock them maybe. So air sealing is huge. So we've done all that in the attic, and then sheetrock, mud, and tape is huge in air sealing. I don't think I've ever done that. And then in the home, of course, we've done air purification. Filtration is huge for both John and I. We believe in filtration, but with filtration, from my company, we've renovated air ducts, we've rebuilt air ducts, we've replaced air ducts, and of course the heating and air equipment. Done all that, super sealed, super clean, super sanitized. We've done spray foam on air ducts to seal them and insulate them. And so all the way down in through the home and then into the crawl space, encapsulated crawl spaces, sealed and airtight, dehumidification, sump pumps. We've insulated floors. Anyway, you name it. And water draining, sump pumps, French drains on the outside. Now the point is, any of that could be subbed out.
Okay.
But if you have skilled labor, these guys know how to use tools, et cetera, then, and we weren't always busy with heating and air calls, so to speak. So whenever we took one of these jobs, we almost always did it in-house, did it all ourselves, and it's so profitable. It's profitable enough that you could sub it out. But if you do it yourself, it's the most profitable thing you'll ever do.
Wow.
Yeah, considering well, everything that he said, I mean, there's always, obviously a skill set to each one of those tasks. And we're not saying that you need to go out and be a jack of all trades depending on the size of your company, but if you've got the personnel and the skill set, these tasks can be handled in-house. Now, there's a couple of things that you can't do, and you know, I also we want to make sure, because we talk to such a broad audience and all over the country, that there are some municipalities and states and buildings and safety that won't allow you to do certain things. So you have to know your marketplace and what the regulations are where you're at. There's a couple of things that you can't do. So asbestos abatement would be one of those things. It's heavily regulated. They'd want you to have a third party to do it, and I'd rather have that too, because they give you a certificate and you know that it's a good job. Finding the right company, though, is also part of the problem. It took me, or not part of the problem, but part of creating a team, finding the right person. It took me a couple of companies, and then I found the right guy. Mold remediation can be done in-house, but you know, that might be something that you want to sub out, because now you're talking about possibly taking down drywall, and there's some structural things involved. Using a CIH, which would be a certified industrial hygienist, if you can't locate and isolate the problem on your own, might be one of those companies that you would sub out. Beautiful thing about that is they write the scope of work. And so that liability transfers over to them, and they hand you a scope of work and you just follow it. Then they come back to make sure you've done a great job. So there's a few things. There's some wonderful testing equipment that allows us to look better into that stuff, when the only way to identify some molds and microbial growths and spores and pollens and different things would be to have a CIH. But there's some testing equipment coming out that allows us as contractors to get a snapshot. And then that would tell the story if we needed to have somebody like that. So these are all things that we could do. I'm not saying go out and be an insulation company or a roofing company. We're saying if you've got the skill set, let's keep all that in-house. One, you can control it, and you have to worry about, is my sub doing the job that we want to do? You know, and knowing that we're trying to create a solution here and not add to the problem. So those are some things that we look at. So it's fun to create a team as well.
That's a good point, and I think at some point we should talk a little bit more about a certified industrial hygienist, because I should say that the first time I came up against the problem where the homeowner was getting really sick in their home, that was the first thing I did, because I didn't know anything. I was new to this. I hired a certified industrial hygienist because I happened to know one at my church. And they did a thorough investigation, checked for mold and everything else. And so I was there and I watched how they tested. And and then they wrote a scope of work for mold remediation. I looked at it and I said, "Can I do this?" He said, "Yeah, there's no regulation, just follow the scope." And so we did that. We've always done our own remediation. And I will also say this, that over the 20 or so years that I've been involved in it, I've went behind an awful lot of so-called remediators.
Thank you.
And I've
no
never,
regulation.
Yeah, and I've never ever recommended one to anybody, simply because most of them had no clue what they were doing. Now, we learned over time. Okay, so the first time that we used spray foam, guess what we did? We spray foamed the air ducts at my house. You know, we're always the guinea pig, and then at the shop. We spray foamed air ducts in the shop. That's how we learned. The first time we bought a big 16 horsepower insulation sucker, what did we do? We sucked the insulation out of the attic at my house. And we pushed it into these 16-foot long, 4-foot round bags in my driveway. And what did we discover? We couldn't lift them. We couldn't move them. So what did we learn? You have to put a dumpster there and put the bags in the dumpster and fill them there. Or put a box truck there or a dump truck. So we learned, we made mistakes. And then I had the great idea. What if I just ran these 6-inch lines out into the woods around my house and covered them with branches and plywood? And why even blow it into bags? Why not just blow it out into the woods? That was a disaster. The whole neighborhood was just in this huge fog of gray insulation. Okay, you probably don't want to do that in California.
Yeah.
So we didn't know what we were doing all the time. But you
do now.
We do now. We definitely do now.
Yeah.
So, but talk about a CIH for just a little while.
I want to, well, first of all, I want to, because the topic came up and we're mentioning mold, or I like to call it microbial growth, because mold is kind of a panic word and a trigger word for a lot of people. So there, Rodney or I, at this point in time, even in this stage of our experience, cannot go into a house and look at a spot and say, that is mold, and tell you what it is. The only way to speciate is to get that to a lab. And if we're talking about the black mold, which would be Stachybotrys, that is the bad stuff. I couldn't identify that visually. Then Cladosporium and some of the other ones that aren't quite as toxic. But the only way to speciate would be to take a sample and get it to a lab. And that is what a CIH will do. They'll take air samples, they'll take surface samples, get it to a lab, then we know what we're dealing with. And while we're talking about microbial growth, a spot here or a spot there might not be bad, although it needs to be addressed. It's when it colonizes. And it colonizes when we have too much moisture. Who's in charge of moisture in a home? We are.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So that's what it comes down to. So then we look at mold and we think mold, mold, mold. But if we want to break it down to like, why is it there? Preventative solution, we need to get moisture under control. Dehumidification. A good latent sensible on our air conditioning's work ratio will go a long way. So then we break it down and see the tree from the forest, and now that's something, little bite-sized pieces that we can deal with, understand, wrap our minds around, and not get a panic, and not to get our clients into a panic either. So does that make sense?
And that's a good point. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
With the professional mold remediators, I say, and by the way, I'm not afraid of the word mold, we use it all the time. With the professional mold remediators, they come in, they spray or whatever they treat, but they don't change the environment, see? And if you don't change the environment, if there's still too much moisture, that mold will come back.
And guess what? So will they.
That's right. So that's why we are so well poised to solve this permanently. And I mentioned earlier, I didn't know much about sheetrock. Yeah, the first job we ever did, we cut out sheetrock, and we took out insulation, and we killed and destroyed mold, and then we treated and put preventers in and then put the sheetrock back. I forgot about that. We actually do a lot of that. So yeah, we're not afraid of it. But what the CIH, the Certified Industrial Hygienist, what they do is they provide the certification, they provide the transfer of liability from you to your insurance company, to their insurance company. So when do you bring in a CIH? Number one, when the customer is extremely eccentric, really, really concerned, and really wants everything to be followed to a strict protocol. Hey, hire a CIH and have them help you with the investigation. They'll do a thorough analysis, they'll give you a report, and you can follow their protocol, and they can come in and test afterwards. Then the homeowner will have certified reports of what's been done. Number two, when somebody wants to sue somebody, it's not uncommon for somebody to say, I'm going to sue the builder because there's water coming down the wall and now my whole basement is covered with mold. okay, it's time to stop and say, okay, let's bring in a certified industrial hygienist. They will document, they will research, they will find the problem, they will document what it is and how to fix it, and then we'll keep track of all the paperwork. And you can either go sue your builder, or you can pay us to fix the problem, and then you can sue your builder. Either way, the paperwork is always there. Number 3, if there's an insurance company involved, somebody says, well, we've got these problems and our insurance company is going to pay for it. Stop. Good time to bring in a CIH, certified industrial hygienist.
Third party.
And have that third party document everything, and then show you the protocol, and then you give them the quote and the price. And then they either write you a check before you start, or they go get their insurance company to come and tell you, okay, you go ahead and do this and we'll pay you. Okay, so anything else?
I think we're about out of time.
Okay.
That was a lot to cover, but we haven't even scratched the surface yet, so
Right.
stay tuned.
In this episode, Rodney Cope, John Ellis, and myself, we talked about indoor air quality,
Say what?
how to get started, what do you as a contractor
Yes.
do there in-house
but
with your team, what do you
usually
sub
it's the
out,
family.
how to get help,
It's their hygiene.
but really, we started to talk about the importance of caring about the health and safety of the families and the people, your customers. And once you start hearing their stories and helping them find the solutions that they need that are going to change the environment in their home and affect their health, then the word's going to get out. And over time, people are going to start finding you.
So I want to tell a story. So in my career of doing indoor air quality, it's taken me into the lives of some amazing people, taken me to some amazing places, been very lucrative. But one story stands out, and I was called to come and do a project at the Los Angeles Zoo in the large primate facility for Minyak the orangutan to create a clean, healthy indoor environment for this large primate. Who gets to do that? So I go in and we go behind the scenes and drive behind all the enclosures, and we get to this large primate facility, and all we see as zoo goers is their environment. It looks like a jungle or whatever, but actually behind each one of those is a labyrinth of cages and living quarters and feeding quarters, and where the zoological veterinarians can keep tabs on the health of these animals. So Minyak the orangutan was in large primate studies for like 20 years. So they poked and prodded and experimented with this large primate, and it had an inherent respiratory condition, and its health was failing. They were going to euthanize this large primate. The LA Zoo said, no, we have an awesome facility. We'd like to take Minyak and bring him into our facility. And so they went back and forth, said, no, he's been in isolation. He won't acclimate. There'll be some conflict with the other primates. His health is failing. End of the story, they ended up getting Minyak. So they brought us in, and in Los Angeles, near major freeways, fires, industry, Minyak was having a hard time with his respiratory condition. So they had us come in and install a high performance, positive pressure, hospital grade filtration unit for his living quarters. And so it's basically like a cage, and he's got this bed that's made and woven out of fire hose, and that's where he sleeps. And then the veterinarians can come and see him and do whatever. So to start the project, myself and my partner that were working there spent 2 hours with Minyak. He had to get used to us, smell us, because when we went in his quarters, those types of animals will freak out. So we spent time with Minyak. We got to pet his hand. He got to smell us, and it was really neat. Then we started the work. It's like, who gets to do that? So anyway, we created this positive pressure. They ended up putting plexiglass on the outside so we can really pressurize his, and it was just ambient air. We weren't conditioning in it. So part of Mignac's story is his health improved. He was the alpha male. He took a bride and had a son. And so that, I'm part of that story because, it was going the wrong direction, but we got involved with that. And just an amazing story that is like, who gets to do that? Well, I did, and it was amazing. Now, Mignac isn't with us anymore because he died of natural causes in old age. But he's got a son to carry on his legacy, so that's just an awesome story.
If that isn't a monkey story, if I ever heard one.
We monkeyed around the whole time we were there.
Wow, IAQ is important, even for orangutans. The new flat rate is actually launching a IAQ section for our menu pricing app. So if you'd like to learn more about our menu pricing system, go to tnfr.us. I hope you enjoyed this podcast today. See you soon.